In the Gospels, Jesus is asked by his disciples, why do you always speak in parables? Basically, why do you tell all these stories? Why don't you just give it to us straight so that we can understand? To which he responds in more veiled language, saying, those who have ears ought to hear. Those who have eyes ought to see. Basically telling them the meaning for parables. Parable is a story, it's a truth that on the surface everybody understands. But hidden within it is a deeper meaning. There's a deeper truth. There's deeper wisdom to be beheld. And he says, I want you to have ears and eyes to hear that and to understand that, to see what I see. Basically, he was training them. He was forming them as men to grow in maturity and wisdom. Isn't that a mark of mature and wise people? That they're able to see a deeper meaning, a broader meaning. They're able to go deeper. You know, I remember that I was given that opportunity, and I was given one of those tangible graces in my life years ago when I was training to be a priest, when I was a seminarian. And I was sent to a correctional facility in northern Maryland. I was sent to this correctional facility to be in this prison with these men to evangelize, to minister to them, to teach them. But also, I think most of all, just to be in their presence, to show them their human dignity and to remind them of their human dignity when most of them think that they are lost and thrown away. I remember being incredibly intimidated. This facility housed over 2,000 men. It was a stone structure that was large and intimidating. It reminded me of Shawshank. I remember that the chapel was in the very back of the facility, so I had to walk, and we had to go through security. And once we got through security, we had to be escorted throughout the entire facility, walking amongst all of the inmates. As they yelled things at us, I was wearing what I'm wearing today, but they said what was on their mind. They said whatever they wanted to me. And I just walked straight ahead. I tried to keep a smile on my face and not show my intimidation. They knew the truth. But I got to the back of the chapel. I remember at the very beginning, there was a tangible fear. There was judgment for them upon me. But over time, over that course of that year, I remember experiencing that tangible grace. And for a long time, I saw men who were divided by their races in that chapel even. Blacks, whites, Latinos, most of them Mexicans, speaking in different languages. I remember sitting in the midst of them and seeing that division of race. I remember that I was intimidated by their orange jumpsuits. I remember being intimidated by their crimes. And maybe what was the loudest voice in my head was my own fear of all of those things, and fear that I wouldn't be able to relate to them. But the grace that I was given was when I got to sit down with them, a lot of them one-on-one, and just to speak to them man to man. I remember sitting in front of them and thinking, I stopped seeing their race. I stopped seeing their crimes. I stopped seeing that bright orange jumpsuit that was glaring in my eyes. And you know what? I stopped seeing what was most tangible, my own fear. And all I saw was another man. I saw men who had the same desires and the same fears that I did. They had desires to be great. They had desires to be greatness. I saw myself in them. They had desires to be known when they thought they were thrown away. They had desire to be loved when they thought they were unlovable. They had desires to be given more chances. They had desires to make something fresh out of their life. The same thing that I was wanting. I saw their fears too, and they were the same fears that I had. Fears that I wouldn't be forgiven for the mistakes that I've made in the past. Fears that I wouldn't get another chance. They had fears that they wouldn't be known or loved ever again. That maybe fears of they would never make it out of there. They wouldn't be protected. Fears that they may not see their family again. All the same stuff that I was going through. This is just being human. And you know what? All of those distinctions were still existing. That was on the surface. We were of different races. We had committed different sins in our life. And we did speak different languages. And there were differences. And today, we are not friends. But you know what? That wasn't the point. And we don't have to be friends all the time. But I know that one of the solutions out of this, for us to have the vision that God sees and to be able to be healed as a people, as human persons, one of those things is for us to have patience with one another. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over time. But if we're able to sit with one another in patience, we will be able to have the grace of seeing each other for who we are, to seeing what's underneath, by being able to receive that vision, to hear another man's heart, being able to see with the eyes of God and see what's underneath, to see just another human person with inestimable dignity sitting in front of us. I pray for that grace for me. I pray for that grace for you. I pray for that grace for our country so that we can go deeper. Lord Jesus, give us your eyes so that we may see. Give us your ears that we may hear what you hear. Amen.